a pleasure, and indeed thank you once again for joining us on the mental health discussion. This is Beyond the Surface. Our pledge and dedication is that we will discuss matters of mental health at Ugandan level and also bring this at global level. Now, mental health continues to be an issue that is everywhere. In the business community, in our families, in our place of work, name it. And particularly in the field of work, we want to engage this discussion at the East African Business Council level. I understand that all the countries that subscribe to the East African community, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, all these have a secretariat that brings together all business people to discuss critical matters. And I understand that mental health issue is one of those key critical issues that deserves to be tabled for discussion. I engage Mr. JB Karisa. He is the Chief Executive Officer when it comes to the matters of the East African Business Council representing Uganda. We want to find out whether this is one of those discussions that they hold. If they do, how do they manage? Is it something that they take as a priority? That and most times our discussion. My name is Fred Makubuya, and Mr. JB, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. And first of all, allow me to congratulate you for establishing that wonderful business entity, liaison. I'm JohnBosco Karisa. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of East African Business Council. We are the regional apex body representing the interests, aspirations, needs, and prospects of business across East Africa. Our headquarters is based in Arusha, Tanzania, but we do have what we call national focal points. In Uganda, PSFU is our national focal point. And in Rwanda, PSF is our national focal point. In Burundi, we do have Association of Trader called ACOBU. In Kenya, we have Kenya Private Sector Alliance, KEPSA. So we've also have South Sudan National Chamber of Commerce. So, and also we do have Fédération Entreprise Congolese in DRC. I'll be going to Federal Republic of Somalia. We are also working closely with the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So we are an inclusive organization trying to bring everyone on board in terms of how to grow the business, how to do investment across our region. It's so a very exciting time, but also with a number of challenges.
Mr. JB, I have been part of all the trainings and conferences, and all I have had a business discussion. I want to find out whether mental health issues is part of those discussions that you prioritize. Anyway, do such discussions exist?
It's office messenger. Say hi to them. Talk to them. Huh? Let them be part of you, despite the level. So I think that kind of ecosystem, inclusivity, diversity, embracing it. How does the CEO relate to the board? How do you relate to your members? So how do you ensure that you keep a smiling face? How do you keep, like and myself, I'm based in Arusha, but my family is in Rwanda. How do you ensure that you don't break out? You keep the two balancing. So I've recently learned that work-life balance is very important. And sometimes people focus on work at the expense of family, or focus on the family at the expense of work. So we need to strike a balance. And I think that's what, in my view, understanding the mental health and how you maintain your zeal, your ambition, your work without compromising other aspects of your life. And I've seen that there are a number of factors that have led to mental stress. The environmental issues, the economic issues, financial related issues, and the social related issues. That's why the relationship is very important. How you keep your family, your children, your wife together to ensure that they are part of you. How do you, I've developed a culture myself. Every evening, I need to spend an hour talking to my kids and talking to my wife. And even in the morning, what I do also to control mental health is that I do 3 things in the morning. One, I play. 2, I read. 3, I do jogging for 30 minutes. That has maintained that mental stability on myself. So those are the 3 things before I do other things. So that the family say, hi, madam, how's the kids? She says, fine. You do the play, then you do the gym. So you keep your body stable, and you start the day in a very positive mode. So that's what, in my view, I've tried to encapsulate, strike a balance between work and because the CEO is a very stressful, generally from McKinsey, when you read McKinsey, 78% of CEOs, they don't last for 18 months because of mental stress, because of the demands. Because what the demands, you have demands from the government, you have demands from your members, demands from your board. So unless you stabilize your brain, otherwise you'll die of stress, or you'll die of depression or anxiety. All these are factors how you manage your time. Generally, the aspect that is very important, manage your time. Manage your time in a wiser way. Don't put stress on yourself. In most cases, mental stress is also caused by the way you manage all these aspects together.
I know, Mr. JB, how critical is your position. I know it's that sensitive. It's a position that everybody would probably want to occupy, but it's a key decision-making position. How critical is this?
It's very, very critical. It's very, very critical in the sense that I'm the CEO of the East African Business Council. By de facto, or the jury, I'm recovering 325 million people. That is the population of entire East Africa, 325. So, and these 25 million, they have diverse interests, diverse needs. And they need to see that you, as a CEO, you're able to manage their differences, their interests, their aspirations, and their prospects. So it's very, very stressful. So that's why I'm saying you need to put yourself in such a position that there is those important aspects you need to deal with. But there's also what we call noisy, noisy aspect. People shouting. Don't pay attention to that. My view is that remain focused. Remain focused with your goal, your milestone, and ensure that you achieve what you have agreed with your board. It's very important that you keep a very kind of cordial relationship with your board, because these are the people who give the organization a strategic direction. And you have KPIs, key performance indicators you need to deliver. So remain focused. That is the message. Remain focused. And be agile. Agility meaning that don't change your position. Remain as Karisa. Don't change your attitude, the way you work. Keep a smiling face all the time. And I've mentioned one aspect that is very important that has helped me. Inclusivity. No one should be left behind. Whether you are a corporate, whether you are a billionaire, me, the way I see, whether you are a micro and small enterprise, I treat them the same. I give them the same service. So that is very important. It's like you call me at any time. When I have time, I respond to you, irrespective of your status, financial or otherwise. So I think that helps. But people, when you try to give different status or treatment, that's where you stress yourself. Remain focused. That is remain agile, and cause an impact. As a leader, see what means that people want to see impact. Siwatake maneno. What His Excellency Museveni always uses maneno. Maneno is just words. Show the impact. Demonstrate the impact. So what I've done as a CEO, I've made an impact And the community I'm reading is the fastest growing community in terms of GDP, in terms of welfare of the people, in terms of integration agenda, in terms of movement of people. So we are happy that the community is the most performing regional economic community compared to other communities across the continent.
Your position is a position that requires you to make a number of movements. And for sure, I am convinced that today you are in Uganda, the other day you are in a different country. You also exist as a family person. I want to find out how you are able to balance or to cause a balance between work and family.
The way I've done it, one, we must, every man to be strong, you must have a very strong woman. So what I did, I had to sit with my wife and say, my wife, I'm going to take a very, very challenging task. And that task requires me to move across the region. And I have a limited time with the family. But take also leadership. Take leadership in terms of ensuring the family is still intact. And the leadership role is delivered from communication. Let's keep constant engagement, constant communication. Wherever I am, we are able to communicate. I'm happy that now with this digital era, we're able to communicate on Zoom, on WhatsApp. And so there is no gap. You must ensure that there is no gap. So when I get free time, I travel to, some of the weekends, I travel to Rwanda, meet the kids. Some are in boarding school, visit them. And they're happy. You provide, as a head of the family, you provide what is required. So that's how I've kept that intact, intimate relationship with my family. Generally, for the past, I would say for the past 10 years, I haven't been with my family. Before I went to Tanzania, I was here in Uganda for 3 years. And before that, I was in South Sudan for 5 years as a country director for Trademark East Africa. So it means that I've been away from the family for almost 10 years. So the family has got used. But the issue, the message is that keep communicating and ensure that the family is supported wherever is required, morally, financially, and otherwise. So that's how I've managed. And of course, you need, for a strong man, they always say you must have a strong woman behind you. And my wife is very strong, and I want to thank her. It's a very delicate balance. Let me say it's a very delicate balance. And sometimes I say I've lost weight because of that. The board, and my board is very, very diverse. And each board, of course, and this is, maybe let me put it clear. I always say that integration is driven by 3 I's. Interests, incentives, and institutions. Those are the 3 I's with regional integration agenda. So how do you manage those 3 I's? One, meaning institution, you need to, as the EABC is a very strong dynamic institution, and it requires strong leadership. Like myself, as I said, I don't allow noises around to obstruct me, but I remain focused. So you remain focused with the mission, vision, values of the organization. So that's very critical. And so with the board, you agree with the KPIs. They give you key performance indicators. So you don't allow anyone who will influence you. You agree, this is what I'm supposed to deliver, and I will deliver if I'm provided with means. So you agree on KPIs. And that's what you do with also the private sector. They are paying for your side, they are paying for it, but you must ensure you keep them engaged, keep them informed. That's why every month I'm in each and every country in the EAC to check on our members. What are those burning issues? What are those challenges that are affecting your businesses? So have that kind of conversation leadership across the entire spectrum. So that is the tactics or the magic bullet I've used in terms of leadership.
Crisis, crisis, crisis is part of the things that occur in all institutions. How are you able to manage crisis at the East African Business Council level?
They say never waste a good crisis. What I learned through COVID, recent conflicts, geopolitical conflicts, and now climate change with high cost of living, the message is one: remain resilient. And your resilience is anchored on three important concepts. One is communication. How do you, and communication is very critical, and engagement with your members, understand their issues, and always be open, transparent, and accountable to what you commit. Don't tell lies. So that is the element I mentioned about being agile. Agility in leadership is very critical, meaning that remain the same. Karisa today should be Karisa tomorrow, should be Karisa. You shouldn't change. Remain focused. And also learn to say no. Don't promise heaven. In such a crisis, say this is possible, but we can work together. And I also have leveraged what we call the power of partnership and collaboration. And I'm happy I'm here with, in Uganda with the PSFU. My brother, Stephen Asimwe, he's also a very open guy. He tells you, I always consult him, what can we do differently? He said, no, ED, here we can do this. So that's the power of collaboration, the power of partnership, the power of consistency and consistent engagement with your peers is very critical. The same with the family. Keep communicating, keep engaged. Don't allow enemy to take advantage of the gap. Don't create a gap. So I think that's the whole message. How I've managed the crisis.
You've talked about KPIs. In other words, your position requires results. It's a result-oriented position. I want to find out, just in case you are not registering any results, which I know it literally happens to people in your position, how are you able to manage such time so that you don't find yourselves getting mentally imbalanced?
There's what we call self-inflicting philosophies. Don't raise expectation. Be realistic or be realism. Realism meaning say, no, this is possible, but this is not possible. And even now, as I engage my board, I said, I tried this. I promised to deliver this, but I did not deliver because of A, B, C, D. And they would understand. They would understand. The openness is very important. The tranquility is very important. The value, the culture, you posit or you demonstrate is very important. And I think that's where a number of people have failed in their mandate because they are not, they don't convey the truth. They want always to hide and you are not there. But when you demonstrate and show clarity, demonstrate the truth, people will believe in you, what you are saying. But if you start massaging numbers, it will not work well.
What are some of the packages that you have as the East African Business Council in relation to matters of mental health?
Currently, we don't. We don't, and I think that's an area we need to develop. And I'm happy now I'm engaging with you. It's an area we need to do. It's a very good area. I think in my previous work with Trademark, we used to have those constant training on mental health. And that's why we used to have like a Friday would be off so that you're able to go to engage, even visit the sick people, interact with your colleagues, interact with the family, visit the family. So there are those social important aspects that you need to do to ensure that you are mental or go to golf, go to a gym or go to a dancing place. So that's generally recently you find that a number of people, if you don't have such recreative activities, that's where people get a lot of stress. That's why people, there's a lot of suicide that's happening, because there are no such a counseling activities or mental health training and mentorship programs. And I think you are coming at the right time, because this is what is happening. As I mentioned, mental health is caused by a number of factors: political, social, economic, and family-related issues. So how do you manage those evolving challenges? So that's my view. I think I recommend that in each and every organization, at least should have a program for their staff and their members, including their board members, on how to address mental health-related issues.
If there is anything left out that you think it is very important, not just for your consumption, but for the consumption of those listening to you in all spheres of life, you have the opportunity to make it as we plan to wind up this very good and significant conversation.
Yeah, I think very important. Mine is that I give you a lot of courage in terms of coming up with this program. And I also want to invite all key stakeholders, companies, at least to have a kind of a candid conversation, an open conversation on the impact of mental health. You know, in terms of productivity, by the way, mental health affects productivity of the company, and it affects profitability of the company, of the business. So it is something that I encourage all the companies across Uganda to take it up. At least have a session, 1 day or half-day session on mental health. It is important to enhance productivity and also ensure strong social cohesion in whatever you are doing.
Is there any appeal from you, since you hold the view that mental health is a critical matter to be discussed? Is there an appeal you want to pose to government in relation to matters of mental health at the East African Business Council level?
I think government, I think this is also very important for the government. For a program like this, government should not again start putting measures that may impede this kind of innovation. Government should exempt companies that are training people in terms of mental health. Shouldn't be subjected to taxes or what. So I think government should also support you, because as I mentioned, the productivity of a country is driven by both the companies, the government, and employees. So that kind of partnership is very important. Government must encourage, nurture, and implement and promote the mental health programs.
And last but not least, do you see these becoming part of the discussion at the heads of state level? I imagine them sitting together and all they are doing is not to discuss business and trade summits, but only discussing matters of mental health. Do you see this as a discussion coming up at that level?
There should be a retreat even among our heads of state, because sometimes these differences you see, they shouldn't be there. Once you have that, what I call the conversation leadership, people are talking to each other, you don't fight. You're able to resolve issues. I know our heads of state, they communicate, they have channels they talk to, but having a retreat, understanding what are the stressing issues, not necessarily on the countries, but as a region. How best do we resolve issues like the current NTBs, non-tariff barriers, restricting trade among our countries. But it's because people are not meeting regularly, have retreat, converse on social issues. Let me say one thing that I noted and I also appreciated. EAC, we are ahead of other regional economic communities in terms of movement of persons. We've removed visas for East Africa. We are using an East African passport. That is very important. But we can move a step further or a step ahead in terms of ensuring how are the people interacting. Ugandans, Rwandans, Tanzania, Tanzanian, Burundi, like that. That build a kind of a social cohesion. We are one one people, one community, yeah, and we all strive for prosperity. Generally, when you look at the current mental health issues, are all related to finance. They are related to opportunities. They are related to inequalities. They are related to poverty. These are the drivers of mental health. How do we share a cake, a national cake? We have seen across the region that the rich are becoming richer at the expense of poor. So how do we address that? Can we try to bridge the gap of inequality as a region? You can only do that by sharing the national cake, by ensuring that there is equal access to opportunities, jobs, irrespective of the levels, irrespective of the tribes, or irrespective of what. We are one community, we are one entity. How do we share those opportunities? We can only do that by removing barriers, create an environment that provides the opportunity for all. That's what we call a shared prosperity for the Africa we want. Shared prosperity for the Africa we want. We can only achieve that by ensuring that our leaders are also working together. They are communicating regularly. They are resolving issues quickly. I think that's the message.
You have the opportunity to make your final remark regarding this matter of discussion. Mr. JB Karisa.
Thank you. Just to say thank you and congratulations for establishing this excellent and noble firm, and count on EABC. We will continue to engage, and we will also promote the program across our region.
It is always a pleasure, and thank you very much for finding and sparing time to speak to us. This time round, not on matters of business and trade investments, but on matters regarding health. He is the Chief Executive Officer when it comes to the context of the East African Business Council representing Uganda as a country. My appeal is not in any way different from his appeal. If we are to manage matters of mental health in Uganda and at global perspective, it is a collective responsibility, that not just for me, not just for the head of state, but for everybody. This is Beyond the Surface. My name is Fred Makubuya.